Hey everybody, welcome to the Jayda InStitches show. I've been seeing these big fluffy pom-poms on the tops of hats everywhere lately, and I absolutely love them. A little while ago I thought I would try my hand at making one or two out of some scrap fun fur that I had lying around. Well, I love the way it turned out. It's soft, it's fluffy, it's pretty, and it looks really nice on the top of my winter hat. And best of all, it's not very heavy either. So we thought rather than a crochet quick fix today, we would bring you a crafty quick fix instead. And I'm going to show you how I made these fun little pom-poms out of fake fur. So let's grab our fake fur, grab a needle and thread, head on over to the craft table, and we will stitch up some fun, furry pom-poms together. In order to make our fluffy, furry pom-poms, you want a small amount of fake fur fabric. So you'll typically find this in stores that sell fabric, and you don't need very much. You need less than 1/4 of a meter because we're going to cut a square that is less than 6 inches or 15 centimeters across. You need a pair of scissors, a needle and thread. You're going to want a marker or a pen and something round that you can trace as a circle. This is my yarn bowl, and it's approximately 15 centimeters or 6 inches in diameter, and that's what you want. You want a circle about 6 inches across. And once you've got all that together, we can get started. First, you want to lay your fake fur out, pile or fluffy side down, so that you're just dealing with the underside of it. It's sort of going to feel like a bit of a plasticky mesh. Take your round object and invert it so that you can draw a circle around it with your pen. So you're just tracing the circle of your round object. Once you've traced out your circle, grab your scissors and we're going to start cutting. Now there's a trick to cutting furry piled fabric. If you just cut all the way around it like you normally would with a regular piece of fabric, you're going to end up cutting off all of the fur. And you're going to get blunt edges, and your pom-pom won't look furry enough, or it'll have sort of cut edges. So you don't want to cut all the way through. What you want to do is take your scissors and just slide your scissors along the edge. So this might take a little while, but that's okay. You're going to take the bottom of your scissors, slide it along the underside of the fabric, and just do little cuts as you go. So some places along the fur are easier than others, and you can always clean it up afterwards. So slide your scissors along the underside of the fabric so that you're not catching the fur, as little of it as you can. And you can sort of feel that. You can kind of feel the little scrape as your scissors scrape along the bottom of the fabric. So you can even see the underside of my scissors there. So just scraping along the edge. And you just work your way all the way around your circle. And as you can see, I am not cutting the fur. So the fur is still long and fluffy, and that's what you want. You want to be able to keep that fur long. You don't want to snip it off, otherwise it won't look right. When you're all done cutting, this is what you're going to be left with. Because pile all goes in one direction, you should see a bunch of your fur sort of hanging down on one side and it being pretty sort of smooth and trim up to the top. So it's going to look a little bit like an animal. But you should have a nice, neat circle. You can take a moment to grab a lint brush or just quickly with your hands kind of go around and pull off any of the little extra bits of fur that you may have cut and just toss them out because you want to make this as tidy and neat a project as possible. You don't want your fluffy pom-pom shedding all over your new hat. Next, you're going to take a needle and thread. Now, I'm using black thread so that you can see what I'm doing, but of course you can match up your thread color to match the pom-pom you're making. You want a fairly long thread because we are going to cinch all the way around the outside edge of our furry pom-pom, and then we're also going to use the same string or thread to sew it to the hat. So you want to make sure you have a lot of it. And you're going to double it up. So I've doubled it up. and then you're going to notch your ends together. So this gives you sort of a slightly stronger sewing thread because it's doubled up, and it's nice and long. Take your circle of fake fur. You're going to take your needle and thread, enter it anywhere you want along the edge of your pom-pom. So just about 4 or 5 millimeters in from the edge, maybe 1/4 of an inch. And you're just going to run a basting stitch all the way along the edge of your pom-pom. Pause every once in a while to pull your thread through. You don't want your stitches to be very short, and you don't want them to be too long. So that's no longer than the tip of my fingernail. We're talking maybe 1 centimeter or less. And you're just going to do this little running stitch all the way around the outside edge, about 1/4 of an inch or 4 or 5 millimeters away from the outside edge of your fake fur circle. Once you've run your basting stitch all the way around the outside edge of your fake fur, you want to come back out right next to where you brought your yarn in, and then you can start to cinch it shut. You don't want to cinch it shut the whole way, and take your time doing this. You don't want to break your yarn, or your thread I should say, and you don't want to completely cinch it up shut because we want to stuff it a little bit. Now for stuffing, I recommend something light, like pillow stuffing or leftover yarn. The reason for this is because if your pom-pom is too heavy, it's not going to want to stay up on top of your hat, or it's going to drag your whole hat down. So get it half cinched, and then just start putting in some stuffing. You don't need very much because it's not going to be a very big spot. And once it's all sort of closed up, it doesn't end up being a very big thing, and you don't want it to be heavy. So just a little bit of stuffing to keep that little circular bit going. As you're cinching and stuffing shut your pom-pom, make sure to keep sort of pulling the hair or the fake fur out, because you don't want it getting caught up on the inside. This also helps you sort of see the opening of your pom-pom, and then just very, very gently keep cinching it shut. You don't want to pull too tightly and break your thread, otherwise you'll have to start all over again. Once you have it as cinched shut as you can get it, don't worry if it doesn't completely close, because that's quite a lot of fake fur and quite a lot of sort of mesh backing. You want to run a couple of stay stitches, so just back stitch through a little bit of the edge of your pom-pom, and be very careful when you're doing this. If you don't work with needles very often, you don't want to poke yourself, because that smarts. So once it doesn't want to unravel anymore, just sort of get all of that fake fur out of the way so that you're looking at the opening of your pom-pom. Make sure that all of your stuffing is as stuffed into it as you can get it. And then we're just going to sort of grid stitch it shut. So you're going to run a couple of stitches across the opening from one side to the other. Try to keep the fake fur out of the way, and sort of squish the edges together as you do it. Maybe run a couple of stitches through the same space just to keep it from wanting to open back up on you. And then squish it and sew it in the opposite direction. Once you've gone back and forth across the opening in several different directions several times, it should be completely shut. Take a moment to try and sort of pull away all of the extra little bits of fur, and if you, like me, accidentally snapped your yarn, it broke over the end of my needle, just thread both ends back up into the eye of it. You're going to make yourself a little knot, and you're going to leave this string on it because this is what you're eventually going to sew your pom-pom to your hat with. So you want to make a knot a couple of times, and since I broke my thread, it might take me a little longer to do this than if you haven't broken your thread. But if you do break your thread, don't worry. If it breaks like mine, you can just thread up the ends and use it like you would regular thread. Make sure you knot it a couple times. 3 is great, especially if your thread's a little on the slippery side. If you broke it like me, but you still have enough left that you could sew it tightly to the top of your hat, that's fine. If you don't have much left, no big deal. You can just trim it and pull the rest of it into your pom-pom. And when you go to attach this to your hat, you're just going to have to make sure that you grab the edges of the underside of your pom-pom. So you're sewing it on like you would sort of a solid piece of something. But that, most importantly, is how you get a nice round fluffy pom-pom that's sort of made out of fake fur. You can take a moment to sort of squish the stuffing around on the inside of it, fluff up that fur so that it looks a little on the zany side, and it's all ready to add to a hat. And there you go. One furry, funny little pom-pom. Nice and light, looks great on the top of a winter toque. I hope you had fun crafting one of these along with us this week, and we will see you soon here on the Jayda InStitches show. Until then, stay safe, stay crafty, and have an awesome week, everybody. Bye!